We are starting with Pula, a Kenyan insurtech startup that has just secured a $20 million fund in Series B. Now, the focus of the or the goal or the focus of this startup is to provide insurance for farmers against diseases and what other things, pest diseases and any other natural disasters that they might encounter. Now, we might say fundraisers have not been that common recently, but yes, we do fundraising, but we are wondering, why did this get to Techpoint Africa Podcast? There's something interesting that is worth talking about today, and Chingozun is going to share that with us in a bit.
Okay, a little more than a bit, sorry. So first is they're raising a Series B, so which we've not seen a lot of in the last we've not seen a lot of Series B raises in the last 2 years. Yeah, in Africa. We've not seen a lot of that in the last 2 years. So that's one. But more importantly would be the product. So yes, we have fintechs who typically raise most of the money. But we also have the problem with insurance in Africa, low insurance penetration. And we've been talking about this low insurance penetration for a while now.
Yes, we even have a report on that from Techpoint.
Yes.
For Nigeria's insurance space.
You can go check it out. But yeah, we've talked about it for so long without let's say a lot of progress being made. We still have, I think, under 3% in most African countries. So what they are doing isn't just insurance, like maybe motor vehicle insurance or life insurance. They're insuring agriculture. And for me, why I think this is big is, if you're in Africa, in most parts of Africa, your country is probably experiencing some food inflation, if not very serious. In Nigeria, food inflation is really high, and it's been the biggest driver of our inflation figures in the last 2 years. So it shows that we need to seriously start thinking about, one, how we improve agricultural output, and not just improve output, but also how we mitigate losses, because losses are common in the agricultural sector. So how do we mitigate it? One way is insurance. In the last 10 years, over $100 billion has been lost by farmers, either to flood, drought, or maybe changes in the climate.
In Africa, yeah?
No, globally.
Okay.
Africa is about 10 billion. We've lost about 10 billion. Looks like a small number when you compare it to the global agricultural GDP. However, the context is that you guys do not have a very robust.
Saying you guys.
Okay, fine. Africa does not have a robust. We don't have a robust agricultural sector, so our contribution is really small. We have, I think, 17% of our arable land, but we do not produce up to, I think, 2% of agricultural GDP. Well, by the way. So yes, it's important that we start thinking about it. In Nigeria, for example, farmer clashes, farmer herdsmen clashes. You can call it terrorism. There's banditry. There's climate change that has become a major problem in the last few years that is now affecting our output. So crops are not being produced as frequently as they should. Output is lower, and we have smallholder farmers largely.
I'm really eager to hear how Paula
solves these problems.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to set the background for all of this, but what I'm trying to show is that the agricultural space has there's a whole lot of problems that need to be fixed, and if you can fix those problems, you are not just it's bigger than creating money or creating returns for your investors. You are also ensuring that you're making a huge contribution. I think it's probably one of the places where you can grow very fast. So what does Pula do? Insurance for farmers. So your crops are insured, your cattle or livestock is insured, and they have so they use satellite technology partially. They also use some AI technology to ensure that, one, they can mitigate climate losses, because climate losses are, you can't if you don't have the tools, you can't predict the kind of losses you experience as a result of that. So they're using that to find out how farmers are going to be affected and then help them. But I think what's really interesting is they understand that you insurance penetration in Africa is low, partially because people don't trust insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not exactly selling it directly to the farmer. They are
Okay.
working with partners.
All
So they are
right.
working with government partners, private sector partners as well, to ensure that the insurance gets to the last to the farmer. So embedded insurance, basically, or you can call it embedded finance, but I'll call it embedded insurance. So, for example, you're selling seed. I think the Nigerian government tried this a long time ago, but you're selling seed to farmers and you embed insurance in that. So they buy the seed, but they also buy insurance for that seed. If you go to them and sell the insurance, it may laugh you off. But if you embed it in the seed they're purchasing, so that's basically what Pula is doing, and I think it's necessary. They are a Kenyan startup, but they also have operations in Nigeria.
So the most popular things that you will see insurance company focus on with in the agri-tech sector is insuring against losses due to climate change, as you've mentioned, due to pests, but there's something interesting that Pula wants to do in Nigeria,
Yeah.
because insurance companies have to focus on the problems they are facing to insure them against it. So what is that thing?
Okay, so there's bandit. Let's just call it banditry insurance, which is
Yeah.
okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have that problem
Mm-hmm.
for Nigerian farmers. Our farmers are not going to the market, to the farms, as frequently as they would normally do,
Mm-hmm.
and when they do, their produce is like being wiped out, because you plant and then these guys come, they destroy everything that is in their path.
Yeah.
So Pula is trying to ensure that, which is a
It sounds interesting, because you don't usually hear something like that. We know that yes, banditry, terrorism, herdsmen,
that's probably because it's like
invasion.
a recent phenomenon. We've not. I mean, you didn't grow up hearing banditry
Yeah, but
issues.
it's more than 5 years or more already.
Yes, so it's
Still
very,
recent.
very recent. Okay,
Yeah, so it might
which
be a space that is nothing that, but I love that Pula is considering going into it, because it was not really delved into in their report, the report that
you've
was sent
delved,
out
you've
from.
delved.
I can't imagine I said that. But yes, they didn't really delve into it in the report they released about their funding. But we want to make some um, informed guesses, or informed
Some educated guesses.
educated guesses rather, about this. So that is why we have Temitope with us, playing in the insurance space. This sounds like what farmers really need in Nigeria, but it's a big deal. But I don't know if Temitope can share with us the possible challenges that Pula can face in pulling this off.
I mean, banditry insurance to me uh, is more like a product like kidnap insurance, right? Uh, the premiums are going to be extremely high. That it's not going to be affordable for the intended kind of farmers, right? So let's say I'm a farmer and I have um, let's say 10 hectares of land. I can tell you for free that I will not be able to afford a banditry insurance, right? And banditry also covers things like farmers while on the farm, they come pick them up for ransom, right? That is part of banditry. Or a farmer who has poultry or
Farm.
animals, right? Maybe like cows and all of that. Then some guys just come in with guns and machetes and all of that and whisk all of those away, right? So the thing is, how will your actuary determine? It's going to be a difficult pricing, really. It's going to be very difficult because where is the data that you're going to use to model what's the data around farmers being kidnapped, or their crop or animals are being taken away? Where's the data? We just hear on the news, oh, it happened
Mm-hmm.
in Benue today, oh, it happened in, so it's going to be a difficult thing to price. For that banditry layer on whatever coverage they are offering to the farmers, I think they should review it. And I also doubt if the regulator will also give approval for such, because even kidnapping insurance is something we've been trying to work on, and we're told to shelve the idea, right?
Interesting.
But for other forms of coverage, like for the crops, towards flood, towards drought, um, and all of that, right? Those make sense that you begin to work with government institutions like IITA, where you have improved seedlings. All right, you finance improved seedlings for farmers, so that some of these some of these issues they usually have around pest eating up their crops, and drought and all of that, right? They can mitigate all of those even before those kind of claims begin to crystallize, right? But of all the coverage they want to offer, I think the banditry one would be the toughest product to offer. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Tim Tokwe. So you mentioned something very critical, which is the data that they will need to make this decision. So while what they want to offer is will be beneficial to the farmers, would you say banditry insurance, like kidnapping insurance, like is it too early to the market, or is it just something that is out of the hands of insurance companies?
Yeah, so I will not say it's too early for the market, right? In fact, we need it. But the question is, can people afford it? So let's say, for example, I own 10 hectares of land, and somebody is telling me to pay 700,000 for as premium for banditry insurance, and my kids will be resuming school in about 2 weeks' time, and probably the tuition fee is let's say 1 point whatever million, right? I will not go and pay for banditry, because I will know that anyways the guys will still come, right? And it is whoever they meet on the farm they will carry away. So the banditry insurance
they
in the
might as well
first
carry
place,
you away.
the question you begin to ask is, what will be the benefit? Is it that the payout will be paying the ransom, or is it that the payout will be, you will be paying the ransom that is being requested by the bandits, or what exactly would be, because you can't determine for those. So if a bandit kidnaps somebody and is asking for 100 million, and you've collected premium from the customer to pay out, let's say, a maximum of 20 million, right? So the policy would not make any sense, because this is not something that you know the cause and effect, right? You don't know, okay, if this happened, this is the likely, you don't know. So it's something. See, banditry is government business. Nobody should try forming a policy for it, really.
Just respect yourself and get out.
Those are very important questions.
Yeah.
And I mean, Pula is raising. These are Series B, right?
Yes.
We use the
So-
Series B, the parents.
So I'm sure. I think they will have some interesting responses to some of the issues that
some of
Tim
these-
Dogway has
Yeah.
raised, because
So,
those are really, really important.
Yeah, gray areas.
I'm
because
particularly interested in the cost. So these are valid conversations, right? How do you determine premium? How do you determine the actual cost of a bandit coming? If someone dies, it's easy for you to say, okay,
life insurance.
yeah, life insurance. But with something like banditry, I mean, kidnappers have found PMF with Nigeria, and we are seeing them
Product
demand.
market fit.
Yes,
that is.
they have actually. And we are seeing them demand 20 million for someone you picked on the expressway, right?
Yeah.
So how do you determine? Do you know how much? Do you have a range? And if you have
the
a range,
quality
like
of that person's life and the ransom that will be placed on it.
online, I mean, they could just pick up one random person, like he mentioned. He has paid 10 million naira as premium, and they're asking you for 100 million naira. Are you okay? Fine, yes, you pay the 10 million naira, but how does that help? What if they say, oh, you now have 10 million because we've seen this happen? Oh, you could raise 10 million. Oh, yeah, let's do 200 million.
Oh,
right?
God.
So those are valid conversations and
conversations.
questions that should be asked by Pula, or that should be asked of Pula. But what I'm particularly interested in is the cost to the farmer. The vast majority of Nigerian farmers are smallholder farmers. They
Yes.
do not have a ton of money for
To
insurance.
pay that premium.
Now,
Even their partners.
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
of
want to
course,
put
if you're a
money on
smallholder
that.
farmer, you're most likely married to a smallholder. Sorry. But yes, you're not married to a Dangote or Tony Elumelu,
Yeah.
so they can't even afford that. So I am thinking about how they could work. Yes, they work with partners to ensure crops. But the question is for you. There is do you think that they could work with the government, for example, to make this insurance cheaper? And if they can, what do you think is like the long-term viability of this? You're an insurance business, obviously, but how does partnering with the government to reduce insurance costs, how does it play out in the long run?
Subsidized insurance.
Yeah, basically subsidize the insurance. How does that work in the long run?
Yeah, so thank you so much. So I once worked at AXA Mansard, right? And we somewhat do not like to do government business,
Oh boy.
right? Because for many obvious reasons
Bureaucracies.
Yeah.
Red
of
tape.
people wanting to receive tip. Yeah, yeah, people wanting to receive what, yeah, they call it in America tip. We call it in Nigeria bribe, right? So people wanting to receive those kind of monies ahead, and the corruption that goes into that and all of that. So I've somewhat developed. Uh, so if you're talking about working with your regulator, that is different from working with
Yeah.
the
Government.
government.
Yes.
You can't work with government as you can't work with if you are not Dangote, you can't work with government.
You know who I
That's
am.
Who are you
heavy.
to want to work with government really? Are you do you want to support government with hiring more police officers and with with required equipment to keep watch over these vast farmlands? Or how exactly do you want to go work with government? Because I really do not understand. So like I was saying, there's a difference between working with your regulator and working with government. Those are two different things. If you're working with your, of course, if in whatever space you're playing, you should work closely with your regulator. But wanting to work with government, in what capacity exactly? You're not Dangote, you're not $10, you're not these guys, right? So in what capacity exactly? Because I mean, this banditry is something the federal government themselves are not solving effectively. State government are not solving effectively. Then you've raised $20 million in Series B. You think you want to come and solve that problem? I mean, that's just an idea that should really be. I mean, all of the other product lines that
So I don't know.
probably want to offer.
Okay, so maybe I can help
Go
out
ahead.
with where do they want to come in? Yes, of course. I don't know how you want to engage. Is it the army you want to engage for banditry? But let's leave the banditry aside. Like every other thing that they want to do, we have smallholder farmers. So what are some? We have smallholder farmers like you talked about, but maybe they can work with the Ministry of Agriculture, for example. I mean, hopefully those ones have a very good database of farmers that they can they should have a very good database of farmers. They should have, or maybe farmer cooperatives and all of that. So let's say they would be working with the Ministry of Agriculture, for example. In what ways do you think they can work with them? One, to mitigate the problem of cost, and to actually build a sustainable business here where they are not, where they are not just subsidizing agriculture for us once more.
Yeah. So the ways a startup can partner, because I think I know a couple of agri-tech agri-tech startups or agri-insure-tech startups. Yeah. So the way I see them work primarily is you partner with like the likes of IITA, like I earlier mentioned, wherein uh, you help with improved seedling. Then in those seedling, you already embed uh, insurance. So let's say a seedling costs 100 naira, right? Inside of
Insurance.
that 100 naira, like 15 naira might go to insurance, right? So that when they plant those seedling and they don't sprout or they don't give required yield, right, then the farmer is remunerated, right? So let's say the required yield is supposed to give you 2,000 naira, but that seedling did not sprout well, it did not grow well, and all of that. Then that 2,000 naira claim will be paid to the farmer. So that's number one. Number two is government should, like the trade platforms,
The farmer.
government trade platforms. So what they need to be doing, and of course, InsurTech should also be collaborating with them in doing, is looking for a ready market for these products. So a place like Ogbomoso has mango during a certain season, especially around this time. I can tell you for free that 70% of those mango go to waste, right? But if there's an InsurTech partnering with some people, either government or some off-taker abroad or wherever it is, right? I'm going to buy your product because you're helping me to make sales, right? So these are like I usually would tell startup founders within the insurance space, you have to be in that business to know how best to solve their problem. So if you want to do agri-tech, I'll advise you that you have like 1 or 2 hectares of land, plant something. By that, you exactly know what the problem is. That is different from you distributing questionnaires, right? Or even going to just ask them questions. But you yourself, you already planted cassava and it did not grow,
Sounds valid.
right? You planted mango and everything went to waste. So you are solving your own problem. So just like what we're doing at PayU, I'm solving a problem for myself as a car owner. So if I solve it very well, some other people will use it. So as an agri-tech, try to get involved in that business itself. You don't have to do the large scale one, right? Just like do something that is sizable. You exactly know the pain points of these people, right? Even this kidnap insurance or whatever it is we're talking about, you probably would also know a better way of solving that problem rather than going the way of high premium that will not be affordable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's valid. Thank you very much, Tim Tokwe, for giving that insight.
Don't get kidnapped.
Right? If maybe that's weird. Like one of their farmers gets kidnapped, then
One of the co-founders.
no, no one, they will not, one of the
Honestly,
co-founders will not go
let
to
me
the
even, let
farm.
me share with you guys.
Okay.
Honestly, I used to have a farm in my hometown, right? And I mean, I and my uncle, we have like a farm where we rear cows, right? And all of a sudden, he called. I mean, the guy that manages the place called one time and said, "Oh, one other farmer, not too distant from our place, got kidnapped. The owner got kidnapped." I say kidnapped. Okay, that was the end of that. I say, see all the cow, my own that is there. You should help me sell it. I'm not doing it again. You see how these things have ripple effect
Yeah.
in discouraging entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
in getting people engaged in legit job and all of that. So the problem really exists, right? And I believe very well that it is people who are involved in that space that can solve that problem.
So yeah, you will not find the co-founder on the farm. Probably a farmer that has been contracted to take care of it. But yes, I think I agree with them having an idea of what goes on in the farm before going ahead with steps like this. And we've talked a lot about insurance and what Pula is doing. We'll keep our eyes out to see how this goes.
To listen to the full episode of this podcast, visit podcast.techpoint.africa or search for Techpoint Africa Podcast on your favorite podcast platforms.